the Sterling Heights Public Library. My name is Brent, and today we're going to show you how to make a simple pan sauce. Come on down. So today I've got some nice little boneless pork chops here. We're going to season those with a little bit of salt and pepper. And then our sauce is going to be very simple. We're going to use a little bit of fresh rosemary, some dried cherries, a little bit of apple cider, and some butter. Now this is going to be more about a process than a specific recipe, but we'll go through this and show you how it's done with these ingredients. So to season the chops, we got a little bit of kosher salt here. We're just going to sprinkle that over them. Hit them with a little pepper. We're not going heavy on the seasoning today. Turn them over. Do the same thing. And then I like to just give them a drizzle of oil and make sure that those are coated on both sides with that, rather than adding the oil to the pan. I like to add the oil right to the meat. And then we're going to take these over to the stove and saute them quick. So I got a skillet. This is a 10-inch skillet over medium heat right now. You want to warm this thing up good first, so put it on about a minute before you're going to put your chops in. And then make sure you don't crowd your pan. Just making sure I get all the oil and the seasoning from that plate in there. Set that plate aside because that's had raw meat on it. We're going to sear this on both sides. Make sure we got some nice color on these. And then we'll show you how to make the sauce. So these are going to be about ready to flip here right now, and you can kind of take a look around the edges here. You can see that you're starting to get a little bit of a cooked look to the edges. And also, if these aren't ready to flip, you'll be having a really tough time moving them around. Once they start to get about right, you can start to get them off the pan without them sticking too bad. So when I flip this, see that nice brown color? We're looking for that. We're going to give these a couple minutes on this side, and then we'll go from there. So our pork chops are just about there. You can kind of tell that by giving them a little bit of a poke. If they're starting to feel a little bit more firm, and double check. If they release off the pan nice and they've got a little color on them, we're good. Now if these were cut a little bit thicker, it would take a little longer. You still see just a little bit of hint of pink around the edges. That's not going to hurt anything. Today's pork is not the same as you might have had 75 or 100 years ago. So we're going to go ahead and get these out of here, set them aside and let them rest. They're going to continue to cook for a couple minutes yet, just from the residual heat. So the brown stuff in here is a good thing. We like that. So while we were away, I stripped the rosemary and chopped it up. Got that cider here. We're going to do a deglaze on this right now. So we're going to add some liquid to this, and we're going to get those brown bits off of there. We're going to turn the heat down a little bit so this doesn't splatter all over the place. And what we want to do is we want to bring this liquid up to a little bit of a simmer and stir it and scrape the bottom of the pan, and that's going to pick up all those lovely flavors there. And then we're going to reduce that by about half. So we got about 3/4 of a cup of apple cider there. We're going to add a nice pinch of rosemary here, probably about a teaspoon worth. And then those dried cherries. I got about 1/3 of a cup of dried cherries here. We're going to put those in. And this process is going to pull some flavor out of that rosemary. It's also going to start hydrating those cherries a little bit. So today we're using some rosemary and some apple cider and some cherries, but a pan sauce is more about the process than it is about the specific ingredients. So once you get your meat seared, you want to add your liquid, Keep in mind that you want to bring that heat down just a little bit while you're doing that so that it doesn't splatter all over the place, but most liquids will work. In this case, I'm using cider. Wine works, stock works. For some recipes, you might want to use a little bit of lemon juice, possibly in combination with some stock or some wine. You don't have to add, dried fruit. Cherries are going to go nicely with the pork, but you could use a little bit of chopped onion, a little bit of garlic, shallot, something like that. Herbs, optional, but nice. In this case, I'm using rosemary because it's going to pair well with the apple and the cherry and the pork. But for a different dish, you could use parsley, you could use dill, lots of different things you can do with this. But the real process here is deglaze, reduce, and then I'm going to show you how to hit that with a little bit of butter and kind of get that whole thing emulsified and creamy. So during that reduction phase, you can crank that heat up a little bit, because what we want to do is we want to get this, some of the water driven off of this, and it's going to intensify the flavors a little bit. So I got about 1.5 tablespoons, 2 tablespoons of butter here. We're reduced nicely. You do want to stir this periodically just to make sure that you're getting all your flavors up off the pan there. I'm going to go ahead and reduce this a little bit as far as the heat goes. We're going to put the butter in and then just stir that through nice and gently. The French call this technique monter au beurre, literally to mount with butter. And you want to use real butter for this. Margarine is not going to give you the same results. What that's going to do is that's all going to come together, and as that butter melts, it's going to kind of give this whole thing a little bit of a creamy consistency. We're forming a little bit of an emulsion here, which is the same process that forms mayonnaise, but this is a much, much lighter emulsion. And as you can see, as that melts in, that sauce gets a little bit more opaque and a little bit lighter in color. And I think I want to add a little bit more butter. Just work that through. This literally only takes a few minutes. Very quick, nothing real complicated about it, but oh, is it good. Okay, so our butter's fully incorporated. We're going to take it over and put this over the meat. So once you've got this all fully incorporated, do not let this just sit around for long, because if you do, it will start to break down. I'm just going to put that right on over there, and then you can serve this with your favorite sides and go from there. Simple pan sauce, in this case for pork chops. Very tasty. Give it a try.